welcome to my presentation. I'm Jing from University of Rhode Island. So today, I will introduce how to use the clustering algorithm to reduce replications. So this work is partly supported by a startup company in Shenzhen. So and it now is integrated in their latest product. So solid-state drive technology has been receiving a lot of attention recently. It provides us with great advantages in terms of high-speed random read and write and low power consumption. So one major concern of SSD deployment, however, is the performance degradation and variation caused by its unavoidable internal activities named garbage collection. So due to NAND flash characteristics, a flash block needs to be erased before we can rewrite data on it. So garbage collection is triggered to move valid pages in the erased candidate block to other blocks before erasure. So the valid data migration, also known as write application. So this garbage collection and replication drives down the I/O performance and also reduce SSD endurance because more writes to the NAND flash. So this is caused by the lifetime variance of pages in the erase unit. So for example, suppose we have two different kinds of flash pages. So the orange one has larger lifetime than the blue one. So at time point A, so they will fix block 1 and block 2, and at time point B, one of the block will be selected as the GC candidate. Suppose it's block 1 at this moment. So we need to move out the valid pages, which is the orange one. So these two pages need to be moved out. However, if we can separate them to different erase units according to their lifetimes, as shown here, so at time point B, so no pages need to be moved. So from this, we can know that replication can be reduced by minimizing lifetime variance of pages in a flash block. So to reduce the lifetime variance of pages in a flash block, multi-stream SSD is proposed recently. So in traditional SSD, there are only one appending point for user write. So you can see here that pages with various lifetimes from different applications or virtual machines will be mixed stored in the same erase unit, as shown here. So multi-stream SSD, they have multiple appending points. So it implemented as maintained several open blocks. So it can different pages with different lifetimes from different applications can be separated to different open blocks with different stream number. So it can reduce the lifetime variance in flash blocks and also reduce the write application. So there is several challenges in the stream management. The first one is we only have limited stream number provided by the multi-stream SSD. Typically, there are only 8 to 16 streams here. However, one SSD may be shared by several tens of virtual machines or hundreds of applications. So there is a high chance that two or multiple virtual machines or applications share the same stream number. And the second one is that the pages access interval is not constant during system running for the same stream, So this result in still have multiple significant lifetime variance in the same stream. And the third one that is also all the current solutions require application or system modifications. When we consult for the vendors of web service, we know that they do not allow us to change the kernels or applications because it will have a very long-term test for even one small drivers integrated in their cloud storage infrastructure. So, and the other one is the most important one is all the current solutions focus on separate all the pages on the streams, not on the SSD. They take the SSD as a black box. However, if we know what's the erase unit is just the open block, it's a block. So if we know the details of the pages already stored in an open block, we can further reduce the write applications. replications by store the pages in the calling open blocks. So to tackle these challenges, we introduce replication reduction by clustering I/O pages. So the principal idea of WARCIP is minimize rewrite interval variance of pages in a flash block. So rewrite interval is the time interval of two consecutive write requests for the same logical page address. So WARCIP, so it calculates the write interval of each request in the I/O streams and group it to an open block whose average write interval is the closest. So what's more, it also learns the current I/O patterns to fine-tune its clustering activities adaptively. It merges, split, and adjusts to cluster automatically to achieve better clustering result. And we also keep in mind that we want to implement it as a device-side data clustering algorithm, which means it can easily implement it in the SSD. So here I will introduce how to do the clustering. So suppose we have 8 open blocks here. So we will maintain the open blocks every write interval in a table. So when a page comes first, we will look up the recorded timestamp in the timestamp table, and then we subtract the recorded timestamp of the page A from the current timestamp, and that to calculate its write interval, and then we compare it with all the average write interval of the open blocks. Suppose the closest one is open block 3 at this moment, and then the page will send to open block 3, which has the closest rewrite interval. So to adapt to different applications and different I/O patterns, we introduced the merge and split, dynamic split and merge. So when WARCIP detects more than half of the write requests are assigned to an open blocks, and it split the open block into 2 by adding a new grouping center and adjust the old one. So in this scenario, both the clusters have lower write interval variance. Thus, the replication is reduced. On the contrary, when I/O pattern changes, some blocks may become inactive, containing pages that partially fill in the blocks. To better utilize the limited number of open blocks, WARCIP merge such blocks and close the inactive open blocks. The merge process is shown here. So we will close the inactive one and use the adjust the adjacent one to add the new clustering center. And so in a properly clustered blocks, what pages in that flash block should be rewritten in a short time window after one of them is updated. In contrast, if pages are not rewritten before the block is selected as a erase candidate in a GC process, the valid pages need to be copied together before erasure. This implements that the pages have a wrong grouping with other blocks. In this case, we will punish these pages by double the recorded write interval of these pages. So in the future, it will be grouped with other pages that have longer lifetimes. So to evaluate our works, we compare WARCIP with traditional SSD and the outstream SSD, which is close to our implementation is also a black block layer solutions. So we pilot the replications here. So the trace is from Microsoft Research Cambridge. So from the result, we can see that nearly in all cases, WARCIP did a better job than outstreams. So it has a 4 times on average. It improves the replication over 4 times. However, the outstream only have less than 3 times. So the lifetime of an the lifetime of an SSD is mainly determined by its PE cycles for erase count. Lower rectification means fewer data pages being written to a flash, so giving rise to fewer block erasure. In other words, the SSD endurance is increased. So for better illustrating this, we divide the result into two groups with different scales. So the left group is the write intensive one, and the right group has less write. So since WARCIP is a learning algorithm that needs write request to training its clustering model, so more write requests more write requests give better model accuracy. So from here we can see that on the left side of the slice, the WARCIP reduced the erase count up to an order of magnitude for some traces. The overall average reduction of erase count of all traces is over four times, which means we increase the SSD endurance by 4 times when compared to the baseline SSD. So we also measure the throughput here. So it's very interesting. At the beginning, all the three types of SSD has similar performance, but after a while, WARCIP and upstream begin to accelerate. This is due to the fewer pages migration in the background. So when fewer pages migration in the background, the released bandwidth can be used by the user I/O. So we have better performance here. However, after a while, so when the I/O pattern changes, both upstream and the WARCIP the performance is dropped. This is caused by the clustering algorithm is not adaptive to the I/O patterns, resulting worse grouping result. That's more write applications in background and less user I/Os can be served by the SSD. However, with the self-adaptive algorithm in the WARCIP, so WARCIP is accelerated again. So we can see here, while upstream is still at least result. So this is the conclusion. So we propose the WARCIP, a new approach to minimize the negative impact of garbage collection using the stream clustering algorithm. So WARCIP groups pages in a block instead of streams according to their rewrite intervals to reduce the replication caused by page migration. So it also can self-optimization and adaptive to new I/O patterns. And our future work is we will consider how to do while learning with our algorithm. So thank you, everyone. Any questions?
Questions? Well, I actually do have a question. So you use the MSR Cambridge traces, which are about, at this point, 12 years old, and are designed so that they were written with file systems that were overwrite in place. In other words, every time you write a new version of a block, you write it with the same name. But these days there are a lot more, and we just heard about RocksDB and things like that, a lot more file systems that do logging, where you would give a different name to a value. In other words, I write the value here, if I change it, I write it over there, so different block number. Do you have any idea how well this approach would work with such a file system?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I think it's a 2 points. One is the trace group is 12 years old.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not good for the testing. But this is the trace group we can find with the most various I/O patterns. So we want to use these trace groups to test our algorithm that can adaptive to different I/O patterns to show it value. That's why we choose the max of the trace group. And the second question is, the LBA maybe changes. Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of other works. Previously, we want to use to solve this problem. We can only use the PC, the PC from the operating system. But however, when we want to do that, when we consulting with the vendors and the web service vendors, but we cannot do that because they do not allow us to make some make some modification on their kernel. So they told us that even small changes in the kernel, they maybe need several months to test it, because they will run all cases. So that's not possible for us to sell the product to them. So they want the solution is that plug and play. So that's why we introduce we keep in mind that the computing power and use the clustering algorithm in the SSD.
How big was the SSD, by the way? Was this on a real hardware or simulated?
This is on the real hardware. Oh,
okay.
Sorry about that.
That's fine.
So this is the real hardware.
Okay.
So it will on the market at the end of May.
Okay. And how big is, what's the capacity of the SSD that you were using?
The capacity.
Yeah, how big in terms of gigabytes?
It's for this SSD is 8 terabytes.
Right, but what's the total amount of I/O written to this by the Cambridge traces?
Oh yeah. So the total I/O is like the most one have the write is 100 gigabytes. So when we do the explanation, when we do the evaluation, we shrink the size of the SSD to less than 200 gigabytes. And before the testing, we rewrite the whole SSD 4 times. 4 times to replace when we run the test, it already in its steady state.
So I'm just trying to understand this.
Yeah.
That what you're saying is then that while this is 8 terabytes of flash, you told the system to only use 200 gigabytes. Is that correct?
No. We modified the firmware to let the SSD for me to test is less than 200 gigabytes. So it means when we recognize the SSD, it's only 200 gigabytes.
In other words, all the activity took place in the 200 gigabyte region of the firmware, of the SSD. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was only that same region. It didn't migrate to
It's 200
Right, that's what I was trying to understand. I think that's what he said.
Exactly.
Go.
If you do all the execution to streaming at the operating system, the driver, how do you have information about garbage collection?
Oh, in garbage collection, when we do garbage collection, we collect the valid page address, and then we periodically send the NVMe command.
So this is at the controller level.
Yeah. When we test this our algorithm, so at that moment it's not ready to integrate in SSD. So we try to use the clustering part of the clustering algorithm as a driver, and then at this moment we periodically to get the result with a command to update the timestamp table. And after that, at current stage, this algorithm already integrated in the SSD in the controller side. Thank you.
How much data do you need to keep per page roughly?
Excuse me?
How much information do you need to keep per page?
Oh yeah, for the information we keep per page is just a timestamp. The timestamp.
Just a few bytes?
Yeah, few bytes. So we just use the recorded timestamp subscribed by the current system time. So that we will get the rewrite interval.
Oh, go ahead. One more
So
question.
when calculating the rewrite interval, you use timestamp or you can use something like a counter. That means instead of calculating the absolute time, you just calculate how many bytes happens inside that.
Yeah, so we want to get we also try that to use counters, but it's not that accurate. Counter is not accurate because counter, when you do counters, you just like the frequency. But with time window, we can know that it will be erased in a short time window. That's more accurate. We get better result here. That's why we use the timestamp here. So also we can share some detailed things in the SSD. So we have several cores to make it more practical. So only the compare part is in the critical parts of the process the user I/O. And recalculate the rewrite interval, we can do that in another core. So it will not have no influence in the user I/O.
All right, let's thank the speaker. Thank you.
Thank you.